Namaste. Welcome to part 2 of Dockerfile. Today, we'll be seeing an example from Docker documentation itself. It is a web-based to-do application and it's written in Node.js. First, what we'll do is we'll download it from Git local, then build that Docker file to make a Docker image, and then we'll test it locally. After that, we'll make some code changes, as in we'll just make text change and we'll again rebuild it to see if the Docker image is working properly after the changes are made. Finally, we'll be doing a Docker push, pushing it to Dockerhub, and then that image will become publicly available. Now we can download it from any other machine and test that same image, and the application should run properly. Now to test the scenario, we'll be using Docker Playground. So a lot of fun stuff coming on. So let's get started. So let's containerize an application. So this is the repository, GitHub repository. Application name is Getting Started App. So let's first clone it. So I've just created another folder here. Let's cd into that folder. Git clone and then the URL. Okay, if we now see, you can see everything is downloaded. Let's cd into the folder. I'm just clearing the screen. So we can see the things that we need to run this application is already there. Now what we'll do is we will directly check, we'll directly have this Docker file. Let's create a Docker file. Docker file. So the scenario is like this, that you have joined a new team where the application is already Dockerized. You want to first check if it is running properly on your local. So everything will be already set up. So we will not think much. We'll just copy this. So we can, so initially when you will get into a new team, you will first check what all things are there in the Docker file. So here they are taking base image as node and it's LTS Alpine version. So usually Alpine version are a lightweight version. They do not have many bloats in there, as in only the needed things are there. Then the work directory is the app, and then copy dot to dot, that means copy everything inside the folder here to dot, as in work directory. Here the work directory is app. Then we are running yarn install, and then we will run the node application itself, and we are exposing port number 3000. So this image has already node install in it, so we don't have to install node here. Setting up locally means we will try to run it locally on Docker. We're not running on local system here. We're just running locally on Docker. Okay, so the same steps. So I'll be just following this example here. Everything is written here. So the same thing, Docker build -t. Before that, just make sure if your Docker is running or not. So I've deleted all the containers. I've kept the images as is, and let's run the Docker as well. And before this, let's check if Docker commands are working. Okay, it's working. So make sure the Docker file is in the same directory. So here Docker file is in the same directory. Let's build the image. Docker build -t. Let's name it Getting Started App. Getting Started App, and then dot, as in current directory. Docker file is present in current directory. Let's build it. Okay, we're getting some error. So I was getting some authentication error. So I did Docker login and then followed the instructions, and now I'm able to fetch the image. Some authentication problem. Okay, the Docker build is complete. Let's check Docker. Let's pull it up. Docker images. Okay, we have this one image now. While troubleshooting, the error, I had to clear the system with Docker system prone, and that's why you see just only one image here. Now let me clear it. Now let's run the application. Okay, so running will be similar that we did in the past. So what we will do is, we will do like this: docker run -d in detached mode, then -p. You can write it like this as well, d and p, and we will expose 3000. So here they have mentioned 127.0.0. We will not mention it because that itself means localhost, and we will anyways be hosting it on localhost. And then we will mention the name, getting started app. Let's run it. So in case you don't know the name, you can always check with Docker images, Docker getting started app. Okay, so now our Docker file, our Docker container is running. Let's check that as well. Docker ps, and our application is running, and it is running on 3000, port number 3000. Let's check that. Localhost 3000, and you can see our application is running. So this is a to-do app. We can type something like Docker file part 1 and Docker file part 2. Part 1 is complete. Now we have part 2. So I was just testing the application. Now this is done. Our image is built successfully. Now let's move on. Let's see if anything else is there. Yes, we can see this application. It is running. We can see our container running as well. Let's move on to update the application. So for updating the application, we'll just update one thing here. Let's close this. We will go to source, static JS, app.js. Don't worry, I'm just updating the text. So here it says no items yet, add one above. So let's say it like this. You need to add items above. That's it, simple. So this is like, if you're a developer, you've made some code changes, this is how you will do it. So after making the code change, what you will do is, so first remain in the same repository, same directory as your Docker file, then rebuild the Docker file, and steps will be same. So you will do docker build -t, and then let's not change the name of the application, name of the image, so that the same image is built, and then dot. Okay, the build is done. Let's run it now. Let me clear the screen so that it is visible. Docker run -d port 3000, getting started app. Okay, so now our port is already in use. That means we have not deleted our container, previous container. Let's delete that. So if we see our old container is running, let's stop it. Docker stop. Then, okay, I did not copy it. Docker stop, and then Docker remove. Let's remove the container as well. Okay, now nothing should be there. Let's see if anything is there. Okay, okay, some older one is there. Let me remove that as well. Docker rm. Now there should be nothing. Docker ps -a. Okay, nothing is there. Let's build it again. Docker run -d. Let's run it again. And now our text update should be visible. localhost 3000, and you can see our test is updated. You need to add items above. The original text was like this. If we see it, no items yet, add one above, and our changed one is like this. You need to add items above. Now you must have noticed that the ones that we added, as in the to-do nodes that we added, is missing now. That's because we deleted the container and we are not using any persistent storage as of now. So that's why it's not there. Okay, so this was containerize. This was updating the application. Let's see if anything else is there in update the application. We updated it. Okay, this is done. Now let's push this application to Dockerhub. Okay, now before pushing it to Dockerhub, go to Dockerhub, click on repositories, sign in with your user ID, and then create a repository. Here, click on create repository. Let's create getting started app. I will use public. Click on create. Okay, the repository is created. Now to push any image to this repository, to your personal repository, you should follow this syntax, or you should use docker push and then your username and then your application name, whatever your application name is, image image name is, and then the tag. Okay, so let's try doing that. And also one more thing, uh, before doing this, you'll be anyways asked to log in to Dockerhub as well. So for that, what you will do is, it will ask for password at one step. So for that, we will create a token. Let's go to account setting, personal access PAT, personal access token. Let's create one. Let's name it getting started app. Expiration date, let me put it like 30 days. Anyways, I'll be deleting it after this video. So here, make sure your access is not read only. Otherwise, you will not be able to push any image. So let's give it read and write. Generate. Now, do not share it with anyone else. Otherwise, they will be able to use your account. So to log in, you have to use like this, and to enter the password, instead of password, we are using personal access token. So we will be using this as a token. So now, where is it? Okay. Now one thing is there, if you check Docker images, our image name is getting started app, but we want it to be named like this. It should be named username and then getting started app, and then whatever is your version number. Let's fix that first. So if we see here, what they have said is, to tag it, we just tag it like this and then we push it here. Okay, so let's tag it first. Docker tag. Let me copy it directly from here. And the version, we will keep it as latest, so we'll not tag it, so we'll not mention it. So of course, I missed one thing. So I have mentioned the repository, but I have not mentioned what we are going to tag. So we are going to tag this image. Let's put it like this. And now if we hit enter, it should be tagged. Let's check Docker images. Okay, now you can see another image, and it is, the tag is latest. Now we have not pushed it yet. We have just tagged it locally on our machine, but it is ready to be pushed. So to push it, what we'll do is Docker push and this name. So let's do it, Docker push. And if you forget the command, no issues. You can go to the repository and check this is already there. Docker push, then copy it exactly. paste it, and then enter. Okay, so now this is uploading it to the repository. Okay, the push access is denied, repository does not exist. Okay, so first we will have to log in. So we have not authorized it, that's why. So let's authorize it. First we will do like this, docker login -u for username and my username here. So here, if you do not know your username, you can check it over here. It is written over here, or docker login -u. Now for password, copy this, right click. You won't be able to see the password here. Enter it. It should say login successful. Okay, it says login succeeded. Now let's do the push command again. Docker push, waiting. Okay, it said started the pushing. Okay, so Docker push is complete. Let's check it on the Docker repository, Dockerhub repository as well. Let me refresh this. And we have a latest image here. Okay, now what we'll do is we will run this image. So what now the benefit is, anyone with this image and with the command docker pull, and since ours is a public repository, can run the same image, and that person will be able to run the application on their machine. Okay, so what we'll do, we have already checked it on our machine. We will check it on some another instance here. So for that, Docker has something called as Play with Docker. This is a online portal provided by Docker, where for a certain period of time, like for 4 hours, a new instance is created in this site itself, and you can test. You don't have to install Docker on it. So if you want to practice something, you can use this. So let's try that. Let's click on Play with Docker. I wanted to open it over here. Okay, Play with Docker. So initially it might show a different screen. Since I have already logged in, it is directly showing me this start button. In your case, it might show some this image and some drop down, and then select that drop down. So for now, we'll just click on start. Let's create an instance, add new instance. So our instance is up and running. What we'll do is we'll directly run this image. Let's go to tags, and this is the command docker pull. So instead of doing docker pull and then running the image, let's directly run the image, so that it will pull the image and then it will run the image. So I'm just copying the name here, the full name. Go to that web playground, play with Docker. So we'll do docker run. Same thing, -d, -p or -dp, port 3000, :3000. Let's paste it. For pasting, you'll have to do shift insert, then enter. So it will say unable to find this image locally, so it will pull it from Dockerhub. Now you can see it is pulling it from the Dockerhub, from my user ID. Okay, this is done. Now, since in our, if you remember, in our Dockerfile, we have opened or exposed port number 3000. So here as well, we have to open port 3000. So here the thing is, to test this, click on open port and mention the port number here, 3000. Click on OK, and your site will be displayed. It will take a little while depending upon your internet connection. So now you see, this is the text that we added. You need to add items above. So all good. We have uploaded an image and it is running properly. Anything else? Nothing. Okay, so this is done. So let's summarize it. What we did is we took Docker's official example of getting started app. We pulled it using git pull, git clone on local. Then we just checked what is written in the Docker file. We pushed our image to Dockerhub. We even updated the Docker. We have even updated the application and then pushed it to Dockerhub as well. And we checked Docker Playground. You can use this when you're studying or when you're doing some practice, you can use this instance will be available for 4 hours. Let's close this instance for now. Before logging off, delete all your images or containers that are running because that will take resource. So for now, this is it. I hope by now you have got a good understanding of Docker. If not, comment section is open for you. Fill in with all your doubt, queries, questions, etc. In the next lecture, we'll see Docker persistent storage, Docker volumes. So until then, keep practicing and I'll see you in the next one.